gaze into the void, wondering why my thoughts seem loud, drowning out the silence of the ever-growing crowd. Speak to me in words unspoken, shout it out above the trees. Speak to me with silence broken, sharing your feet. New silence out so deep the ocean blue, endless waves washing up the distant shore with every breath you take, waiting for time to live a voice with words that sound so right. Over the silence bringing comfort to your mind. Speak to me in words unspoken, shouting above the trees. Speak to me with silence broken, share with me the life you live. I strain to